So we just covered the story where Tulsi Gabbard obliterated Tim Ryan on the issue of Afghanistan. That happened later on in the debate. For at least the first half of the debate, I don't think Tulsi was doing well. And I want to give you a perfect example here of the slow start that I'm talking about. This was the first time she was asked a question, and look at her response.
Put the same question to Congresswoman Gabbard. Your thoughts on equal pay?
Well, first of all, let's recognize the situation we're in, that the American people deserve a president who will put your interests ahead of the rich and powerful. That's not what we have right now. I enlisted in the Army National Guard after the al-Qaeda terror attacks on 9/11, so I could go after those who had attacked us on that day. I still serve as a major, served over 16 years, deployed twice to the Middle East, and in Congress served on the Foreign Affairs and Armed Services Committees for over 6 years. I know the importance of our national security, as well as the terribly high cost of war. And for too long, our leaders have failed us, taking us from one regime change war to the next, leading us into a new Cold War and arms race, costing us trillions of our hard-earned taxpayer dollars and countless lives. This insanity must end. As president, I will take your hard-earned taxpayer dollars and instead invest those dollars into serving your needs. Things like health care, a green economy, good-paying jobs, protecting our environment, and so much more.
Mayor de Blasio, good evening.
Don't do that. Don't do that. I get it. This is her main issue. But when you're asked a question about something else, answer that something else, or at least have a segue. At least answer that question in a short 5-second soundbite, and then go, but in my opinion, the most important issue, which overrides or supersedes the others, is this, and here's why. Don't do that. Now, there's a reason I say that. Because people, when it comes to an election, people don't just look for policy and that's it, although that is a very big part of it, and I would argue way more than mainstream media gives people credit for. They act like policy doesn't matter at all. It certainly matters, okay? But there's also just a general approach that people have where they're sizing you up as a human being. And they're going, okay, let me see what this person's about. The old gut check test. The old, what do I think of this person? And I'll tell you from my perspective, and, I know it's the case with at least some other people, I have pet peeves in these debates. One of my pet peeves is when they get out there and they awkwardly wave at the crowd and act like they have friends out there. Oh. Okay, don't do that. That's stupid. That's really stupid. The other thing I can't stand is whenever they're asked a question, they thank the moderator for the question. All right, Chuck. Well, first of all, thank you for that question. I really appreciate that. Just shut the fuck up and answer the question, bro. What are you doing? Stop. If I ever ran for president, my first two things I would do is not randomly and awkwardly wave at people in the crowd and not thank debate moderators for the questions. And on that alone, I would win the election. But those are two things. The other thing is, I don't like it when people interject, especially in a way that's just like insufferable and unbearable and over the top. I mean, it's okay if you have to get your point out and you're doing it where you have some wherewithal and self-perception. But when people interject and they just kind of try to railroad it like Delaney did, and it was just unbearable. The other thing I don't like is when people don't answer the question. Now, by the way, I think that question is stupid. I do, because it's a Democratic primary debate. What do you think, somebody on stage is going to be like, I, for one, believe that women should be paid less than men, and here's why. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to do that. I mean, you might as well have a question at the debate. Does 2 + 2 = 4? Let's talk about that. Why? Everybody on that stage is for equal pay for women and men for equal work. Full stop. Full stop. So I think the question is a little ridiculous, but putting that aside, you got to at least answer it a little bit and then give a segue. You went right into war bad. So I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I would advise Tulsi to always answer the question. Just as a human being, you come across as a more relatable, normal person. If you're just if there's some connection to what is happening around you. And that looked like totally disconnected and bizarre. So I like Tulsi. That's why I'm doing this segment. Because I think this is really indicative of the slow start that she had. where she seemed kind of aloof and disconnected and doing her own thing and not like aware of what's going on around her. And this is just a perfect example of that. So she saved her night big time with the end where she destroyed Tim Ryan on the issue of Afghanistan. But from now on, answer the question. And that goes for everybody, not just Tulsi, but answer the goddamn question. Because that's like politician bullshit 101 is like, I'm just going to say what I want. Well, then why is there a fucking moderator? Why is there a host? Like, no, answer the question. However you want to address it, but fucking address it. So anyway, I had to do this segment. I like Tulsi, but that I couldn't stand that answer. But I am happy she redeemed herself by taking Tim Ryan to town repeatedly.